Hello, 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 and welcome to the Rag Company podcast, where we are beaming in live from our relative home, shop, office spaces, what have you. And we got some guests. Our guests today are Renny Doyle and KEITH DUPLESSIE. Guys, introduce yourselves.
Hey guys, it's Renny Doyle, Detailing Success, human being facing the coronavirus at home, and thank God I've got my shop on my property because I would just be out of my mind bored.
It's a nice shop.
Thank you.
And Keith.
Hey guys, KEITH DUPLESSIE, P&S Detail Products, Detail Plus. I am beaming to you live from the man cave at my house, the temporary man cave, because I'm building my office, Renny. I'm like you, I'm about 6 months behind you. So I'm like you, I'm a little driven crazy. So this weekend's project, I am prepping to epoxy my garage floor and start the home shop there. And then we'll go to the basement and we will build out the world headquarters of Keith's Hobbit Hole, as it were. So, Renny and I are both sheltering the coronavirus as best we can until the government picks up the phone and tells us we're not going to do that anymore.
Well, until that happens, carry on.
Yeah, there
All
we
right.
go. And of course,
So-
Dane, you are in the Great Dane Films HQ.
Yes, yes.
Fortress of Solitude.
I have a fine layer of snow behind me, and definitely not located in my bedroom right now. That's not where my office is. I am outdoors. I'm on a mountain.
Yeah,
I heard that your bedroom is hot.
Oh no!
It is. He's got a fan he designed to really cool that thing. What kind of fan is that, Dane?
I get made fun of for it because it looks like a Wright Brothers prop plane.
It is.
It's a man
It may
fan.
as well be.
yeah,
It's
it's a man
cool.
fan.
It's old school. It's rustic. Whatever.
Well, he's got to keep that damn dog cool because that dog's got so much hair on it
A lot of
that.
fur. Great Pyrenees. That's what happens.
Oh.
Anyway,
Recruiting services for that. They really
well,
do.
well, yeah. Unfortunately, it's a little hard to come by right now, so I got to do it myself.
Dane, you're
I
going to
can
have
get
to
some
give your
clippers.
dog
I
the
got
bowl
some.
cut. Yeah.
Oh,
cut.
give her a bowl cut. Oh, I don't think she'd like that very much at all. But who knows? Oh boy. So we might as well talk about IDA stuff. We have two very prominent IDA folks here, and well, actually, we have 3, 4,
We're all-
5. We're all IDA.
we're all
So
pretty
I'm
much
throwing it
IDA,
out there.
so.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's something that we could definitely talk about. That we want to give people updates, right?
Well, yeah. So biggest thing was, a lot of this is what we spent this week talking with a lot of other detailers, other companies, reaching out to them, doing this. So thank you guys for coming on and being part of this. One, we thought, let's find out what's going on, not only around the country, but around the world, and kind of see what other companies are having to deal with, what other detailers are, questions they're having, what kind of stuff they're kind of running into. And one of the big things about the IDA is the word international. And so a lot of detailers, were a little confused. A lot of us were worried that, the whole whether or not we were essential. In Idaho, they are, we haven't closed down any businesses. So just restaurants and bars and gatherings, basically, of 10 or more. So that has been kind of the way. So here we're not so affected by it. A lot of businesses and local entities have already shut down and they're doing the stay at home, shelter in place rules. The Rag Company, we're trying to enforce that. So, all of us in an office, we're asked to go home so that those that are actually on the front line, so to speak, are packing and shipping, can continue to do their job because we've stayed extremely busy through all of this, almost as busy as we are, through Black Friday. So it's been a real blessing to have work and for our team, but for a lot of those detailers that are, basically forced to close their doors or maybe have seen a massive downturn in business. One thing you guys, Renny and Keith, have been doing is doing these webcasts, Renny through your Detailing Success, and through the IDA, we've been doing a lot of these. Keith's been spearheading a lot of these throughout it to try and get that information out there. And both of you are also military, so that's what when they say that they've been sheltered in place for this week. It may change next week. They really mean it. They may be getting called out to assist in some of their respected states. So, but yeah, go ahead, guys. Tell us a little bit what's been happening on your end, what you've been having to deal with, what you've seen. So
Keith,
everyone wants to go first.
To the IDA first and kind of go over what the IDA has been going on. It kind of blew up right in the beginning. Everybody's kind of freaking out. You're probably a lot more adjusted. Keith's had that lane. I've had a lane of my own. So I think Keith is probably more adapted to speaking from the IDA standpoint currently.
Yeah, and I think the thing to realize with all this is that we don't know. So again, we're all guys here. So those 3 magic words, I don't know, don't really apply to us because we would never say that. But the truth of the matter is we don't know. The government doesn't know. Now, I mean, when you look at the guy leading the government's response, Dr. Fauci, if there's a guy who has better credentials in the world at what we're dealing with, please somebody tell me who that is, because I don't think there is. And he even says we don't know everything we need to know yet. And so the IDA's response was initially, hey, we are essential. We can clean vehicles. We can do things. And as answers became more concrete or more stabilized is a better word, the IDA went through its process and realized that really isn't the right answer for us as an industry, for us as a industry leading association. So they came out with a second bulletin that said, we aren't essential unless we're performing certain services in a certain way. And we can get into the mechanics of that. And Renny and I have kind of, I think, gotten to the point where we're like, dude, we're going to stop talking about that because there's a lot of controversy there. And what I'll say is, and what we've been saying is, if you aren't listening to the CDC, if you aren't listening to the EPA on what products will work, the CDC on for what procedures are appropriate and control measures should be in place, and what the government is telling you now, we as an industry association aren't going to give you better guidance than they are. So The IDA has taken the stance that unless you're doing essential services, unless you are doing things in the appropriate way, the proper way, as outlined by either your local government or federal government, we're recommending as an IDA group not to be operating and work on your business in other ways, unless you can operate safely. Now, if you're a one-man show in the middle of Montana and there's no cases in your county, you probably could go ahead and have your shop open and do paint corrections. But much beyond that, it's really hard for anybody to say they can kill the virus with any certainty because there's no testing available to any of us to prove that. Right. Most of us don't have the proper PPE to continuously operate in the way we should. And we don't have any guarantee that everything that we know now is concrete enough to say we're doing everything that should be done. So what do I mean by that? When you look at all the material out there, it all says this will kill SARS. So this virus is really a SARS-CoV-2, which is actually a third version of the virus. But nobody has done enough testing to say everything that worked for SARS-1 worked for SARS-2. Right. So the abundance of caution message from the IDA is if you don't have everything you possibly can have to meet all the standards, you shouldn't be operating. That would be best practices. But again, as an association, we can't tell you to or not to operate. We can only give you our best, guidance. So that's kind of where the IDA is. They're fielding questions. They are also, again, in the referral business. They're trying to steer you toward the right research sites. And my thing as a manufacturer's rep is we don't have all the answers either. We're giving you the research what we've got from the government, and that's the guideline we're trying to work from as well. So that's kind of the IDA's perspective right now and talks with everybody. But one of the big things is stop bagging on each other. And this is, I will speak for the IDA here, and Cheryl can slap my hand later. Stop bagging on each other. Stop fighting with each other. Share information that you have. If you think somebody's doing it wrong, call them personally. Otherwise, don't attack them on social media. Yeah. Put your opinion out there. If you say, this is what we're doing, this is our facts-based and evidence-based process, and this is what we feel is the right answer, and run with it, But stop attacking each other. The public is watching what we as the cleaning professionals are doing. And for the most part, everybody's kind of going the way of abundance of caution, taking a step back, not working because we don't know. And that's a great way to go. But if somebody is working, far be it from me to attack them for doing that. If I have an issue with what they're doing and how they're doing it, I know how to pick up the phone or message them and say, hey, I don't know if you know, but I really don't think you're doing it the right way. Otherwise, stay positive, be positive toward people, be supportive, and share information.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. And that is the responsible way to approach it. That is the intelligent way to approach that. And I was mentioning to some folks earlier we were talking with about just generally taking responsibility upon yourself for, the kind of messaging you're putting out there for others, because, there are going to be people who look up to you, and you want to make sure you're doing the right steps, taking the right precautions, and not promising something, putting these crazy claims out there like, oh yeah, those others say it can't be done, but we totally got this locked down. If you're giving people false confidence in something that you yourself can't prove, and you have no testing to back it up, because of course you don't, this is new, then all you're doing is giving someone a false sense of, security where it shouldn't be, and you're endangering them and others.
Well, you are. And I think, if you act conscientiously and try to do the right thing by your customers, and try to do the right thing by, it's not even about representing whether you can or can't kill this thing. Sure. It's about, are you operating in a way that you create yourself as a potential carrier or recontaminator? And at the end of the day, there should be a mirror by your door. There should always be a mirror by your door. So when I was in the crowd control business, we had a mirror right by the check-in door. And the reason it was there was to make sure people looked right when they went out to go work with our clients. But you should have that mirror by the door when you come in and when you leave every day. Did I do the right thing by my customers? And did I put anybody else in any more danger? And if you can't answer those questions appropriately, you should probably think about what you're doing with your business. Many people have said, I can't have my employees exposed because they have kids at home, or they have elderly parents, or they have whatever it is. And I can't go home to my family and say I did the right thing. So, I would ask everybody to think along those lines: am I making it better, or am I just being more of a risk? And, Renny has done a ton of videos, and I know he's going to talk about this next. We've done a ton of talk this week about, okay, I can't operate. What can I do to make myself better and stronger? And I think a little introspection and self-improvement work is probably the only thing you can do right now. And, I saw a great post from a friend of ours, Renny, in Hawaii. He said, if you're not coming out of this thing more educated with a new skill, and having reviewed what your business is doing, you're just lazy. You're not productive, because this is the ad opportunity. We hate this. None of us like it. And as a manufacturer rep, when we're trying to move product, none of us want to be doing it this way. But it's an opportunity for the operators who are suffering. And I'm not saying they aren't. It's an opportunity for the operators to take that 1 or 2 week pause that they've always complained they never have, and do something with it. And Renny, I know, is going to talk more about that.
No, totally good. Yeah, Renny, you want to fill us in on some of those, some examples of what you've been talking about for the last week or two here?
I think let's go back. Well, right before this thing broke, we're like the rest of you, we kind of watched it. And back in January, I took alarm to it pretty early. And so we started doing a lot of research. Keith and I, with our weekend gigs, Keith more so than me, we've got some access to people. So I started taking advantage in talking to some of the National Guard medics that are frontline medics at San Bernardino County, at Mateo County, San Francisco, city of San Francisco, and seeing what the frontline people were doing. And then we started talking to doctors, medical director for San Bernardino County Sheriff's for the Mountain Rescue Team. We started talking to RNs. We started talking to ER doctors. We started talking to chemical manufacturers. And one of the things that was evident really quickly was that this little bug, this little nasty virus, was something that we, here in the States, it's happened in other spots. So by the time that this thing hit us and California went into lockdown, I had some great answers, but unfortunately I had the IDA and members of the IDA, and then just my own desire was to come up with an SOP, standard operating procedure that would allow operators to go in safely and still conduct business and maybe even take and work our way through this where it was a good thing for detailers. Unfortunately, through our studies and through all the people that we contacted, is we quickly found out that we as detailers just really, most of us, 90+%, probably far greater than that, just aren't ready to tackle this thing. One of the key things that we came through that an ER nurse of mine, a friend of mine, said was, Renny, even if you cure it out of the car, even if you cleanse it out of the car, in the event that the person has it, it's going to be reintroduced back into the car almost immediately. And so while you could even take care of it if you could, the fact is it's going to be back in there. The bug's going to be back in there again. And right then and there, I just realized that, the answer I wanted to deliver wasn't going to happen. And that was that, are we essential? We can be, as Keith noted. Unfortunately, I think that what we're seeing is that we're seeing reactions to people is that, when you tell them that they're going to have to shut down business, is that's a hard thing for many people. The other thing that I was shocked at was how many people that, especially successful people that we all know, 6 days in are already financially destroyed. I think that told me right then and there that our industry wasn't quite as sophisticated as we had hoped, and that people weren't listening as we hoped. The other thing that was kind of sad from my standpoint is that we've made inroads with big industries, not outside of detailing, that can have an influence on us as detailing by pulling us into their world. We just completely destroyed some of the viewpoints that many of us have been trying to make for the last 10 years, because instead of coming together, is a small percentage of the industry decided to turn against itself, get really ugly, and go back to a gypsy mentality. And it set us back. And I'm heartbroken. I haven't deleted any friends, because I'm hoping that some of those that got ugly will learn and mature. And if they don't, then I'll make that decision later. But, my business is shut down. We actually shut it down before, because knowing, Keith will tell you, associated with the military, I've had just enough training at this kind of stuff to be really dangerous. And I'll tell you what, when they put you in that monkey suit, all that mop gear, and you have to put your breathing apparatus on, and they come up and they pump this little thing around you, and it smells like rottenest eggs you've ever smelled, and you can still smell it through your mask, and it takes you 2 or 3 times to get it on right, you don't know what the hell you're doing. Yeah. And, a little plastic thing right here and some black gloves, and your arms exposed and your ears and your eyes exposed, and you're wearing the same clothes home that you just did, or you're wearing the same clothes from home, getting into a car, you're either going to be part of the solution or you got to be a part of the problem. And my standpoint was simple, is that most of us are going to be part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Yeah.
The whole steaming thing, the whole ozonator thing, all this craziness, is we can package that eventually when this ends. We can start packaging all these things into a package to where we can respond as an industry next time and be part of somewhat of a solution. But right now, we're just behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, and I would say, even if we have the solution, Renny, which I think we're all going to work toward, the reality is, if people are contaminated and they get back in a vehicle, we're not solving anything. And so even at that, even if everybody had all the PPE they needed, had all the training they needed, had all the materials they needed to kill this thing, and could get cars perfect, the reality is, like you said, Renny, if somebody contaminated gets in it tomorrow, it's all for naught. Now, something is better than nothing, but the reality is, are you still essential? If we really do the math on that, are you essential at that point? Because to my mind, the answer is no, until everybody personally is protected from it. Then we can go ahead and deal with the surfaces that are contamination. When you talk about the monkey suit, those of you who were not alive back then, or like Renny, were not in the military at that time, right after 9/11, or not 9/11, sorry, first Gulf War, with all the scuds going in, one of the things the military really focused on, and Renny will know this a little bit, 25 years ago, we were in a Cold War combat mentality. Then the first Gulf War was a real education for us that, hey, our plan works. Our land battle doctrine works. And so we were full-fledged into training on that. And one of the big training parts of that was chemical and biological warfare. And I've done mass casualty decontamination training to the point of pain. We have a joke in the Army that you are not trained until you can do it in Mop 4, in the dark, in the rain, when somebody's shooting at you. Then you know you're trained at it. And so we train to that level. And I can tell you, I've got probably almost 1,000 hours in the chemical suits doing decontamination of injured patients. That is hard slogging work. And that's what our healthcare providers, not to that extent of the gear, but are trying to work through without the appropriate gear and without the appropriate materials. So if they don't have it, there's very little chance that detailers really will have it. And so I think the caution is we're not prepared for it. We don't have the tools. We don't have the materials. You are best to stay out of that lane. One of the old rules of Murphy's Laws of Combat is remaining conspicuous. Conspicuous stuff gets shot, And at this point, we need to be inconspicuous. We need to be planning what the next steps are. Guys like Renny are doing great things to say, let's put together a program on how to educate people to do aftermath. How do we come out of this? What's the exit strategy of this whole thing? And I think that's, if I were to give the industry advice, and that's, Renny's really taken a lead on this tack, is how do we come out of this? And Renny's right. The business coaching is still something that's huge. Now, one of the bonuses was we did a survey with the IDA recently. And one of the big things everybody said is we don't want as much technical information anymore. When we started Third Thursdays with the IDA, their webinar series, we were 90% technical because everybody wanted technical stuff. Today, people want business coaching stuff. They realize. So unfortunately, we're not there yet, but the industry is turning in that direction, which is great. So what business coaching things are we in the industry doing? Forget the IDA. What are we as industry leaders doing? What can we do to educate people on how to come out of this? What skills, techniques, abilities should you have if you're going to go forward? And then how do we stormproof ourselves? You guys have heard me say this 3 years in a row at the State of the Industry. What are you doing? And Renny, you remember this last year. I mean, it was booming. And what did I say? When it slows down, and it will, what are you doing to stormproof yourself? And even today, even this year's State of the Industry, we saw the numbers slowing down a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. And so my question is, what are y'all doing to stormproof yourself? Now, this isn't a storm, guys. This is a galactic event with respect to industry and the things we're dealing with in our industry. But what are you doing to be ready for that slowdown? I don't think any of us were ready for it. Renny's been telling me for years. We go out on all these road trips together for the last 4 years now. And what do we always talk about? Man, they got a great shop. But I'm really worried for them. If they're paying so much on that nut, are they going to be okay if things slow down or if things change? And so I think the business coaching, Renny, like you've been saying it for 3 years now, are we helping people look for that end? Things are booming and they're great. And I have every confidence that when this is done, the economy will pick up. There will be a slingshot or accordion effect where things catch back up and we get busy. But for some people who are not ready for this, it could be a disaster. And Renny, we were on a webinar the other night and somebody said, hey, but don't take on too much work, because the work's going to be there when we get done. But if you take on too much and you bury yourself and you can't fulfill it, that's as damaging to your business as, not having any work at all. So there's just a ton there to think about. And I think coming out of the back end is the big key focus right now for everybody. And, trying to make sure you survive as it is and using the resources available.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to point out, sorry, I didn't want to cut anybody off. I just wanted to point out that, the recovery effort is obviously an important factor, but it's also extremely important to remember that this isn't the only time something like this is going to happen. And there are things you can do to prepare for next time. I mean, it's really, you don't want to treat that as like a bad thing. That's just being responsible. Obviously, you experience this. If it happened, it can happen again. And pandemics are not, isolated to, once every 100 years or 200 years. This stuff can happen more frequently as people are more interconnected in, global life. So that's definitely something that people need to address.
Yeah. Well, and like, Dane, like Keith and Renny, I was I was detailing actively in 2008. So was Renny. There was a big shift in the industry when the financial crisis happened, because that heavily affected automobiles, and that changed a lot of us. Those of us that were through that kind of understood it and pivoted and fixed that. What we've seen in the last 10 years is a massive increase in detailers joining in, becoming detailers, becoming part of this industry, and seeing this growth and this change. But a lot of them are in that 5 to 10 year range where they weren't detailers 10 years ago. Maybe they were another job 10 years ago, and then 2008 happened, and then now they're they became a detailer, or that was something that they changed and followed into, but they didn't have the mental clarity to see that there's something that's going to come down the line that's going to hit them again, and this is where that's hit. I see this as a lot more business training, a lot more effective use of how to make where they can make their money or what they can do. But also I see this as one of those things where guys are going to need to learn different skills. Detailers specifically are going to have to learn different skill sets, are going to have to learn better certification situations like biohazard, cleanup and stuff like that. I see a lot of them are going to hopefully take it more serious and understand, like, okay, how do I make money coming out of this? How do I do things the right way coming out of this when it kicks back on? And it's also honestly going to have the effect that a lot of us, we don't want it to, but it's going to weed those people out. It's going to have that natural effect of detail shops that maybe they just don't need to exist, and it's hard to say that, but it's going to happen because it happened in 2008.
And there's a number of people who, when 2008 happened, that kind of stuff, people either lost their jobs or they found themselves in kind of like, no man's land, floating around like, I need employment. Obviously, I need money coming in. And maybe they like detailing on the side or something. And now it kind of transformed into a job. And it's something they could just start up. They didn't need to wait for somebody to hire them. They could just start doing it. There's definitely the appeal of like being your own boss. And there's a lot of people go that route because it can work on an individual basis. But that's part of the thing is just, you could definitely see, like you're saying, weeding out the people who prepared and planned and the people who just kind of wing it and hope for the best.
Well, I think the other thing is there's a lot of successful guys. And when we say successful, I think the definition of successful is it varies. The shops run well, they process cars, they do excellent work, they make money. The owner is putting money in their pocket. The question is, what's the owner doing with that money when they put it in their pocket? Whether that's their pocket, the company pocket, doesn't matter. My point is, hey, what are you doing with that revenue that's different? And, there's only so much revenue you have. And there's only so much you can squirrel away for a rainy day versus in reinvesting in upgrading the business. And like you guys said, is that upgrading in training? Is that upgrading in materials on hand? What's the definition of that? And everybody's got to make their own call on that. But there's never a time where you are ready for this. Okay. Yeah. I just want to say that right now. I think there are people who are more prepared and have more ability to survive it than others. The other thing I will say is, if you're doing nothing else right now, you should be learning how to be a survivor mentality person. What I really see is endemic of society today, endemic of anything, is this isn't about whether you put enough money away or those things. This is, do you have a mindset that allows you as a business operator owner to survive and move forward? There's a thing called the Stockdale paradox. So, and for those who don't know who Admiral Stockdale is, he's a Medal of Honor winner who was a Vietnam era pilot, that was Navy pilot. He was a colleague of John McCain's, shot down in Vietnam, captured, went to the Hanoi Hilton. And he said, the guys who died in those camps are the guys who had total hope, because they got to Christmas thinking hoping, wishing that they would be home. And when they weren't, it broke their heart and ruined them. You've got to have hope. You have to have an outlook of positivity toward the outcome at the end goal. But you also have to have a temperance of reality that this could go on for a while. It could be hard. And you have to steel yourself against that. So there's the realism versus hope, and there's a balance there. And, you know, there are very few people I know that epitomize that better than really Renny, Bob Phillips, you know, two guys that I have daily contact with. And I got to tell you, they have a mindset that really fits that. And a lot of the guys that we're associated with, they're not the only ones, by the way. They have that same mindset. And I think we need to start, you know, making mindset as much as anything a part of our business coaching. Now it's really hard because then you can turn into a Tony Robbins type guru, and I don't want anybody to be perceived that way either. But there is something to it. And Renny, you know, Renny's done some great talks on who survives and who doesn't, and why they do and why they don't. But those are really acute tragedies. This is a long-term, as we say in the Army or the military, embrace the suck moment. We don't know the outcome date. We don't know when it's going to end. We don't know what it's going to look like when we get to the other side. But I'm going to embrace the opportunity to hunker down, get tougher, be ready to go. And, you know, maybe that's getting in better shape. Maybe that's changing your business model. You know, I remember in 2008, I was at Detail Plus, and Bud called me. I'll never forget it. It was 11 o'clock at night. I'm at home. I'm like, why is Bud calling me at 11 o'clock at night on a Tuesday? We haven't screwed anything up this week. And he's, you know, we started talking about the economy. He said, what do you think we should do? And I said, I think we need to go back to our core business. Forget all this other stuff we were doing that was ancillary. We put a lot of time into that wasn't productive. And so we had to refocus on who is Detail Plus, what is Detail Plus, and what are we doing with it? And I would encourage everybody as part of that survivor mindset to ask those questions of yourself. Who are you? What are you? And, you know, where are you trying to go? And it goes back to core beliefs and core basics. So, Renny, I know you got a lot of background with this on the search and rescue side, and I'd love to hear some of your thoughts there.
You know, I think it comes back down. There's no magic wand for this. You know, nobody's just going to come in and fix this. You know, either you've got people that are the business greats of the world right now, and we're all in the same boat. But really, are we? Some came into this semi-prepared. Some came into this probably totally prepared. But everybody's been affected at this. It's how you come out of it. And the more prepared you were, the better you're going to come out. But, you know, money doesn't make success. Is that your will to survive, whether they teach that, you know, we go out and we retrieve somebody off of a mountainside, is that your mindset, to Keith's point, is going to probably sometimes, no matter how bad you want to live, you just don't. But the people, I've had people that should not have lived, but they wanted to live so badly they did. And I've had people that shouldn't have died, but their will to survive was weak. We're going to see that same exact mentality coming down through this. A couple notes is that when I come into a situation, is that I stop, drop, and roll. It's something I've used for years. Is just stop, sleep. But stop means stop. Give it a night. You know, just drop down on your knees. Don't move forward. Roll on it, meaning sleep on it, and then take your actions the next day. What I'm suggesting, what I've done myself, is journal. Everything's journaling right now. I'm taking a personal inventory of how I'm handling this mentally. I'm taking an inventory of how set up was my home for this, meaning supplies and everything else. How set up was my shop, meaning supplies, PPE. We're pretty good. We didn't have enough. We're taking an inventory of our business, and we're taking an inventory of our finances. And so we're journaling about that so we don't forget it. I go back to my statement of saying that if you're going to own a business, you need 6 to 12 months of reserves to live through things like this. If you're in a shop, that includes those expenses too. 6 months probably isn't going to make it. Ideally, 2 years. In the military and search and rescue, we have what's called an AAR, you know, an after action report. Is that you need to, it goes back to my journaling. You need to take an inventory of everything that's going on right now so you're prepared. This is really, I mean, as Levi, you said it, it's going to thin the herd out. It's unfortunately, we're going to see friends that don't survive this. Maybe they bounce back and come back, but we're going to see the herd's going to be thinned out from this. Our messaging to people moving ahead has got to be factual. We can't suck up to each other anymore. We've got to say it what it is. And the people that survive this have got to be loud about this. Most of you, a lot of you guys right now, the Rag Company team, you guys are a young team, Levi, you made it through 08. I hate to say this. This is devastating, but this is easy financially compared to 08. You know why?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
There was no handouts in 08.
No.
There was nothing. There was no PPP. There was no SBA. There was no local assistance. There was none of what we're all doing right now to support each other. None of that happened.
None of that was there. There was no network. There was no network period of other detail shops or what other people were going through or ideas that we had. It was literally Boise's Best. The shop I worked at was, we had 12 employees. We were doing 25 cars a day. And when the dealerships dried up, we were 90% dealership work. The dealerships dried up and we were like, we laid everybody off. There was 4 employees that would come in plus Danny, the owner, and we all went on unemployment, but we came in and we still did all our 10% of retail work. And that was it. But none of us knew what else to do. We didn't take the time to clean, we'd come in and maybe clean the shop a little bit, but we didn't fix anything. We didn't know how to remarket to other customers to try and reach out to the people that were home that maybe, realized they couldn't buy a new car and they had to take care of the car they had. There was a ton of things that we didn't know how to do it. We just tried to do our best to survive through it because the 5 of us were scrappy enough to come in every day and deal with the fact that, hey, we only have 1 car today and there's 5 of us and it's a $200 detail. And we're going to split it amongst us 5 ways. That's literally, it was just that we're going to ration this out between us and we're going to try and make it work. And I had just bought a house, and it was a rough go. But now I look at all the services available. We're doing this. We've got our network. We've got all the different groups that we belong to on Facebook and Instagram and all the different ability to help each other out and give each other these lessons. And then on top of that, the government aid and the federal aid that's going to be happening for everybody. We have a network now. We have things in place. And if you don't learn from this and you can't take all this free education that's out there, and I feel sorry for you if you're not listening to this.
Listen, we did when this thing, the first day that they shut down California, the very first day we called our mortgage company, we called our auto lenders, and we got all of those. And literally Diane was on the phone for about 6 hours with all of our various, even our insurance, our company insurance, because we're shut down. We got all of them halted right then and there. Yeah. That didn't happen in 08, man.
Yeah.
No, it didn't happen. It just went on and they took your house. As simple as that. And so, this thing, you can survive this, but to Keith's point, your survival mentality, man, I'll tell you what, if I was a small shop right now, that day 6, when I heard guys going, man, that's it, I'm done, I'm out of business, I wanted to reach through the screen and slap them. And the reason why is because that next day, I would have been down at the store with my fucking apron on, excuse my French, at 53 years old, going, would you like paper or plastic?
No, we literally talked about that. Carolyn, the owner of the rag company, she was at Walmart picking up some supplies for the store, soap and hand sanitizer and wipes, just for the store. She could only buy a certain amount, but it's her just going just about every day picking up items. She walked up and there was a new cashier and she went through got checked out and everything. And she told the gal, she goes, I just want to say you are the nicest, most helpful cashier I've ever had. And you're doing a really great job. And the girl said, thanks. It's my first day. And Carolyn said, what? And she goes, yeah, this is my first day as a cashier at Walmart. I worked as a waitress. I got laid off.
Well, she wasn't a waitress. She was a manager of a restaurant in the village.
That's right.
So the village that we have in Meridian. She was a manager over at I think it's at Kona Grill or something like that. So a really nice high-end place.
Nice place.
And so
she went to go work at Walmart.
And she went to go work at Walmart
because when the chips are down, she needed to work. It didn't matter to her what the job was. She's getting a job. She's got bills to pay. She needs things done. Carolyn was like, I'm gonna go see if I can hire her. Because that's a worker. That's somebody that you want. That's a good worker.
Here's the thing is, and I'm not gonna disagree with anybody in the industry, but we've got 2 mindsets right now. is we got a lot of people, listen, I lived through 2008, and the mistake I made was, and again, I lived through a period, active shops, active business, different than right now. There was no PPP. There was none of that crap. The biggest mistake I made was not taking care of my own family first. I worried about my staff way too much. Right now, I'm a blue collar millionaire, man. If things got bad, I would be picking up dog poop in people's backyards if it meant money and me surviving to get to the relaunch of this thing, the reopening.
Yep.
I would do anything because I'm a survivalist. You guys are survivalists. We've gone down this road before. Shame on you if you didn't have enough money in the bank to survive. Oh well, it didn't happen. Don't give your business up. Yep. Don't stop. Don't quit. Know when to say when. Go to your creditor. Stop everything. Get the help that you need, and move on and move through this forward motion. Forward motion. Another thing I want to take and talk about is in the defense of the IDA. The IDA does care. A lot of people, I got bombarded. I mean, 80, that first week we were in quarantine.
Yep.
I worked 80 hours, and probably 20 of it was responding to miscellaneous emails and messages, probably like many of you. We cannot, as an industry, be biocertified right now. Nope. It's not possible.
You should have already been in it.
That's exactly it. And here's the thing, the IDA, and this is the thing, even for your government, people blaming the president or your local government or your local governor or your mayor. Listen, man, in January when this thing started happening, the first thing I told Diane is I said, hey, man, go get toilet paper. And she goes, what? And I said, people are going to crap themselves because that's all they know is go get toilet paper. I'm not kidding you. That's what I told her. So we didn't hoard. We just got enough to where, we can poop all we want and we can take care of business.
Well, I got for my birthday, I got myself a bidet from the wife.
There you go.
Quite nice. Yeah.
That's it. Well, see, the way I grew up in Colton, California, man, that was called the garden hose.
Yeah.
And so, hey, it's going to take time, but the IDA is already on it. So to rest you assured, there are people all over the IDA, the founders, the board, everybody knows that marching orders going forward is going to be able to have a tie-in with being biocertified. We know that. It's not going to happen right now because it can't, because all those people are in such demand, but it will happen. So be patient. The other thing is, this is a lesson for being instant gratification and instant superstar. There's so many people, not just in the detailing industry, but in society. And I'm not going to pick on young people because I've seen people older than me that are guilty of this bullshit. Is that, your whole instant gratification want to see your name in lights. Well, where are you now? Stop it. Realize what you are and what you're not, how you make your core business. Do that core business, then work on the other stuff. Stop talking about it and just go do it. And so, it's just the amount of shame that people are putting out there to people either or staying open, for closing, all this stuff. First off, it's none of my business. If you're in my area, I will tell you what's my business. I need a service done when all this is done. I need 2 services. 2 services in the automotive related. My car needs 2 things done. And I want to have window tinting done, and somebody hit my car with something to put a little dent in it. So I intentionally went by the shops that I was looking at doing that. Any of them that are open right now, I will never do business with you again. Yeah. My decision. And the reason why is because when I look in your shop and you're not even wearing gloves and the doors are completely open and you've got staff running around, you got people in your shop. For me, as an individual consumer, that's reckless. Now, the shops that I went by and they had a nice sign in there, guess what? And they explained it this way. The 2 shops that I went by that were closed is for the safety of our staff and the safety of our employees. Guess what? You just won me over. That's just me as a consumer. I also went to restaurants because for takeout, I want to support local restaurants. Our favorite restaurants right here in town, no PPE whatsoever. None. Guess what? I will no longer serve. You aren't serving me safely in a time of need. I'm never going to come back into your establishment again.
Yeah, well, one fun thing, I wouldn't call it fun thing, but one thing that we found interesting was that, so it was what almost 2 weeks ago, Levi, about a week and a half ago, me and Levi went on a quick run to go wash a Suburban. It was just me and him in the car. And I said,
we
hey,
were testing a new type
John's.
of towel.
Yeah, we're testing a type of towel.
So we did drive this through a car wash.
Yeah, and so we went and drove that through. But then I said, hey, I want to go through the drive-through at Jimmy John's because I want to pick up a sandwich. And he said, okay. So we're driving up and we're talking about, you know, everything that's going on. We're saying, hey, I wonder, you know, how many delivery drivers are out right now because things are still booming and people are still going.
It was literally like the day after they closed restaurants and bars. They said it was literally like they closed them at like 3:00 that afternoon and said, hey, you know, close them down. And this was the next day at lunchtime. So
yeah. So this particular Jimmy John's, since it's a franchise, I mean, we pulled up to the drive-through. Guy had gloves on. You know, they had all their stuff in order.
The store was closed.
The store was closed. But what was cool is looking through the drive-through window. Right, you could see the whole back area of the store, or where they must have wiped down this counter probably 3 or 4 times in the minute and a half that we were there, in between people just walking by and placing bags. So even if a bag was placed on this counter,
they were to-go orders that they were literally
to-go order.
Delivery
Somebody would come, wipe that down the second that bag was placed, then a new bag was placed, they'd wipe it down again. And it was just like, we were like, holy crap.
Impressive.
It was very impressive to see that just, you know, they were taking that seriously. And so needless to say, it's made me feel a lot more comfortable ordering from them, knowing what's going on behind the scenes, even then when nobody's watching. So
yeah, and my favorite, we were both really impressed. But my favorite breakfast joint, just right down the street here from our house, my kids were like, "Hey, can we order to go?" And we did it to go right before everything started to close down. And we always do to go in the morning. It's right down the street. Grab it, bring it home. Kids get their pancakes. They have a blast with them. And we did a post on Instagram saying, you know, so great to get to go from this restaurant. They ended up using that picture the next week that we had put on Instagram saying, hey, you guys can pick up to-go orders. We're going to be closing the restaurant down, but we're going to have to-go orders. They ended up closing for the last 2 weeks. Right after that, they were open for about a week, and then they closed. They said, hey, we're just for the safety of our staff, we're closing for 2 weeks. And that's just how it's going to be. Apologies, everybody, but this is what we're doing. And then they're planning on reopening on tomorrow, I think, just bacon, because they've got some of the best bacon. And they're like, we're doing only takeout, only of our bacon. If you guys want some, you know, just because people have been wanting. But I thought that was really neat of them for that, just to do that 2 weeks to say, hey, look, just to keep everybody safe, we are going to close for 2 weeks. We don't want any of our waitresses or our cook staff or anybody, you know, having to deal with that. It was nice to see, you know. I know it was hard for them. It's a husband and wife, and they're young. They're, you know, late 30s, early 40s. So I know this is a sacrifice. They've got a 5-year-old, you know, but to do that, it means a lot, you know? Yeah.
Doesn't that want to make you support them in the future?
Oh, yeah.
That's my point, is that
goes back to a long-term focus and mentality. Again, it's, you know, I think that's a survivor mentality that's also on display. One of the really good guys on our industry, I don't know if you guys know him, Shane Pennington, posted a hell of a video.
I love Shane.
And Shane's, you know, got a nice shop. He's got a lot of employees, but he's like, dude, he did it right. I mean, he told everybody in his sphere, I got to close for my employees' health, for my family's health. When this is over, we'll come back and we'll support the industry. We'll, you know, I mean, just a great video. And he told people the reasons why. And Renny, you're dead on. I mean, the people that do that, hopefully, are the ones that everybody wants to go back and do business with. It's not always about price and quantity. And I think we're going to see, if you're smart, you're going to see on the back end of this, Americans, you know, and whether you like Trump or not, he is kind of a nationalist in the sense of he doesn't like to be foreign outsourced for anything. His whole thing of bringing production back into the U.S., well, you know, hopefully the American public will have a little more of that attitude, and they'll also have that same attitude on the local level, which is the companies that do the right thing for my community are the companies I want to do business with, not just because they're cheaper. I'll pay a little more for somebody that does the right thing.
Well, you know, Keith, that's a great point. You know, to take that one step further we just had all the software people on a call right before this one. And, you know, this is a great time to call every one of your customers and tell them why if you did shut down or if you're open, why you're doing it, is communicate that. Because if you don't tell them, they don't understand it. And I'm telling everybody right now, hey man, if you're bored, is turn Netflix off for a bit, call 10 customers, and then go back and, get comfort, some ice cream, watch another hour of Netflix, and then call 10 more customers and use this time. Hey, relax.
Just check in.
Just check in.
Just check in.
Tell if you don't tell them why you're making the decisions, they don't understand. And so it's a great time to stay in contact. Here's the other thing. Some of your customers that are maybe single, or they're elderly, or they're empty nesters, is they probably need to have a good talk. It'd be nice. And I know me, I'm enjoying this time. I know it sounds wicked, but I'm taking the time to go back to the basics and really put this down. Go off social media. I'm on social media less right now. That first week, right? It was like blow your mind up. But now I've just learned that nothing's changing. It's the same people that want to see the world burn, want to see the world burn. And I like going on and seeing happy stories. I know that sounds, I'm as macho as they get, man. But you know what? I almost want an air hug from people right now, because I'm a real touchy-feely people, and I'm like going crazy right now because I just, seeing you hunk of men, I really want to freaking like have a hug for people.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, we were just on. I did a live this morning with the guys from Color Lock, with Ram and Lars, and one of the guys, Terry, in Australia, and then we jumped onto our team meeting, and then we jumped on to do an interview with Color Lock again with Ram and Lars. And I was like, holy crap! I just spent almost 3 hours with two guys that I really like, and the feed all of a sudden just closed down at the end, and we were like, I felt like, oh man, I wasn't done talking to them. Right. If anything, it's reaching out to your friends and being able to just communicate, say hello, just pick up the phone in the version of the phone. Yeah. It doesn't have to be social media. Just call somebody's voice just to hear them and talk to them and ask how they're doing.
It's funny. I had something happen last week. One of the hate forums that's popped up, or it's either one of the hate forums or one of the forums that turned into hate. I can't remember. One of the groups is some guy just, he went off on how much he couldn't stand me and had a pretty good laundry list. And so I reached out to him and I said, hey man, here's my, I don't know who you are, but here's my take. When this is all done, I want you to come to my house and we're going to break bread. And I'll guarantee you after the end of that, we'll probably like each other. I said, because I don't know why, I've never met you. And if I did, it was very brief. And I would like the opportunity to show you the man I am, because you obviously don't know me. And, I've done that a couple times now. Now the one, both of them I did it to that were very vocal, neither one of them came back to me. They didn't accept my dinner offer. And that's okay. You know what I'm saying? That's okay. My point to this is that I don't have room for that in my life. Yeah. I never have. I got caught up into some of that shit when I was younger, when the forums popped up when they're back in the 90s, like 20 plus years ago. Even then, man, I was in my 30s. I was too busy building a business and an empire. I wanted to be a blue collar millionaire, man. And it took me a while. I call myself an overnight success in the making for 30 years. You know what I'm saying? Is that, is Levi, to get back to it, man. Those guys at Color Lock are cool people. Kevin Davis, you look at people like Kevin Davis. You look at, Bob Phillips, all of our inner core, but there's so many people that I don't know well that are just cool as shit, man. And to just sit there and get to know them and have a little one-on-one. I got this guy named Ron that started messaging me out of the blue, and he's half Italian like I am. And he's sharing recipes with me. Italian recipes. And I'm like, I love this dude. Where have you been my whole life? It was like we built up this friendship. I can't wait to meet this guy. And I never met him before. I'm like a little 14-year-old girl with the Beatles.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to do that, Renny. Okay. Great ideas here. Usually ideas come up when we're in Vegas drunk.
There is that new Facebook group.
We need a cooking channel for detail.
It's going.
Facebook quarantine edition.
They just made one.
Facebook quarantine edition. Joined it last night.
That one I am going to go join because I like that idea. And maybe this guy's involved in that one, but I don't know, but I was like, man, I'm going to write down I'm going to share recipes I've never shared before with my family because they're all time. Yeah, because all of a sudden I got a boy crush on this dude and I don't even know him.
Yep. No, and that's been the thing. You know, it's one of the things that's been the most fun, I think, is just being able to reach out to others. To you know, we had that earthquake on Tuesday, and
that was
here in
weird.
Boise, and you know, it was fun to get the text.
Well, 6.5 is decent. It didn't feel like
and the
much.
messages from folks just going, "Hey, oh my gosh, guys! I just saw there was an earthquake in Idaho. Are you okay?"
Right.
You know,
it's weird for sure.
From all over the world. Once it hit the news, it was funny. You could tell. You know, it happened at 6 o'clock, and then we started to get a little trickle from people, and then right after the 10 o'clock news hit,
you knew when it happened.
When it was 8 o'clock in Boise, if they were 2 hours ahead of us, and it hit that news cycle, all of a sudden we started getting messages.
You know what that is?
So
it's just
it was fun.
California is so even the earthquakes are leaving.
Yeah.
Earthquakes are going to Idaho. Not only are you guys getting our citizens, you are getting our earthquakes. They're saying, get me the hell out of here. This place sucks.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you guys, but my first instinct was, what's going on at Yellowstone? Let's make sure it's all cool over there. Okay.
You know what we do on a 6.5? We go, hey, Diane, was that you? No, I think it was an earthquake. Okay, baby.
And we're done.
Well, that's because they're old enough to have been in bed early for that earthquake. But you know, I think another thing that's really key survival technique, and in the military we call it just a sixth sense of humor. But you know, I think having a sense of humor, being able to laugh.
There's somebody behind you.
Yeah, there's somebody behind you.
Right when you said that.
He's fogging your yard.
Yeah.
Hey man, the yard guy's still working because he ain't got anybody to be around, so he can still do his thing. But you know, you got to have a sense of humor. You've got to have a little bit of fun. I was emailing with one of our actually new customers, which is kind of cool, and he just happens to be Sydney Gwynn's husband, Mike. And I sent Mike an email the other day, and I said, "Hey, your order shipped," and let them know what's going on. I'm like, "Dude, that was a hell of an earthquake you guys had. I mean, what's next?" And he says, "Well, we're expecting the locusts next week." You know, and I'm like, you got to kind of have a little bit of a sense of humor about this stuff, because it's not. It's you've got to be able to laugh at yourself. You've got to be able to keep your perspective. Again, it comes back to that positive mentality. But it's so huge, and I think the other part of this is when you see somebody do cool stuff, cheerlead that person. Cheerlead, you know. Grab that post and share it and say something great about them, you know, because they're doing a cool thing. And I think that's where we overcome the negative, you know, and I'm sad that people will go out of business or will lose their businesses as a result of this thing. But, you know, at the same time, it's an opportunity for all of us to learn and get better.
Well, Keith, hey, you saying that, hey, the guy that started the recipe sharing for detailers, way bueno, man. Whoever started that up, that's a cool group, and I'll be part of that. I like to eat.
Yeah, you're looking a little thinner though, buddy. How's the speaking of torture and sixth sense of humor, how's the Peloton going there?
You know what? Let me show you. You guys want to see hell? I'm going to show you guys what hell looks like. Hold on one second. Whoever talks you into buying a Peloton bike, that thing right there, holy crap, man. I hate Bob Phillips, and I hate Doug Cunningham.
You mean Peloton? What? Peloton?
Yeah. This is,
there you go.
I'm going to have to get one just so I can hang out. We can make some group rides.
Man.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you got to have the detail industry strong shoes, the black and red ones.
Hey, I just got up to the 20-minute clinic, you know, the class. I started out 5 minutes. I think that's a joke. I got up to the
20 minutes. That's good.
20 minutes, dude. Those people, and I came out of 4,500 people. I was like 137th, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. But I couldn't walk the next day.
No, normally that's my normal exercise routine is I do spin class and I ride a bike. And I've said this to Dane for the last couple of years. Just 20 minutes on a bike is that's a heck of a thing. You get yourself breathing hard. That's what you need. Hey, I'm back to just pulling the bikes off the wall and going for a ride because the gym's closed. So Anthony, however, got a bike delivered to him. So I'm gonna have to sign up at Cycle Bar.
Well, I'll tell you, if you have a Peloton, I'm gonna throw out a little piece on them. even if you don't buy the bike, go through the experience. If a company wants to learn good customer service, that company, I was like, take my money, 0% financing, okay, 0% for 36 months. But here's the deal. Their communications was over the top. Their follow-up was over the top. I was like, I could buy a motorcycle for what that thing cost me. You know what I'm saying? But here's the deal. Am I a fan? I'm promoting them right now, and I'm not getting any commission.
Yeah. No, I think that's cool. By the way, make sure Jeff and if Prentice is watching, you guys lost the weight loss challenge to yours truly. So I'm down 26 pounds since SEMA.
There you go. Oh
year.
man, you send that over and he will.
I think we had a bottle of nice scotch bet on that thing. So you might, next time you see Jeff from 10 feet away, remind him to.
Yeah, I will.
I will be there to pick up that. And I understand there's interest on not getting your system done yet, but as soon as I get over there, we'll crack that sucker open and have a drink.
Well, I think the liquor stores are still open in Boise, so I'll make sure Jeff heads on over and picks up that.
Hey, Dane, all of you guys, Anthony, Levi, what do you? Is social media calming now as an industry? Because I'm not paying it. I just stopped. My mission is to help people.
Yeah.
Are you guys active enough to where it's starting to calm down a little bit, or is it still ugly?
I think
pockets.
it still changes.
It's all
it changes
pockets.
every day still.
Yeah.
As each state, more detailers lose that essential status and are forced to close, I think it pops up more. For us, we're just trying to stay ahead of it. Thankfully we have a large volume of videos that people can watch. So what we've noticed is, people are watching YouTube videos and then they're buying products.
Yeah.
So they're staying home, they're working. So hopefully, it stays what it is. As to the detailers that are professionals, I think there's a lot of hemming and hawing as each, state goes through it and the shops are closing. Because in Idaho right now, detail shops can stay open. They're not, there's no need for them to close. And so a lot of them are staying open and they're still working.
Yeah, I would say even though we have shelter in place, it's like a soft shelter in place.
Well, it's Idaho,
they're not really.
They don't, we've still got legislatures in Idaho that are, going against the stay-at-home order. So, and they're actively fighting against it. So it's hard to place that. But there are some shops that, they're doing what they can and they're, enacting the best social distancing that they possibly can. But we took the line of just saying, hey, storefronts closed, everybody upstairs that has an office, go home. You're going to work from home. Because we've got 15 plus employees downstairs that are essential. They pack the orders, they do all the shipping.
Yep.
They need to be here. They need their job. You guys need to be out of the building. And so,
exactly like what Renny said, we have a sign on the door that says for the health and safety of our customers,
health and safety of our customers. Yep.
Absolutely. It's all
you can order online
with orange cones around the front door to keep.
We do have orange cones. We had a guy literally walk through them the other day. Try and walk in. We had to lock the front door.
Yeah.
Here's the thing to think about. I'm in my career of doing a lot of a recovery of people that have fallen, that met their demise either at their own hand or by being by accidents or by doing some pretty stupid things. I'm not proud to say it, but I've had different levels of decomp. Actually, in my eyes, in my mouth, I've snorted it. I walked through it. Okay, so I'm pretty hardcore that way. Right now, somebody walks up within me and tries to shake my hand. Man, if you got the cooties so bad, I am so freaked out because here's why. I've got a brother that has had some health concerns. I just had surgery a few weeks ago. I've got children that I'm ultimately worried about. I've got neighbors that I'm close to that I want to give it to. I've got a wife that I love and adore, and I want to have fun and spend the rest of my life the next 30, 40 years with her. I've got every reason to stay away from whether this is blown up out of proportion. I think a certain amount of this is social pressure that our president and our politicians have had to face. I think the media's fumed this thing, but it doesn't matter. It's killing people. And man, I got the heebie-jeebies from it. I don't know. Yep. And here's the deal. What lessons can you learn from that? Detailers moving forward. If you're a teen, my daughter right now, I'll tell you what, You think that interior detailing, how long have we been talking about this, Keith? If you're not well-rounded in detailing, that you're missing the boat. I bet now there's a lot of well-rounded detailers because there's going to be a way not to cheat people out of it, but people like me are going to have the heebie-jeebies. I want to make sure, not even that my car's clean. I want to make sure the people going into my car's clean. Yeah. I'm no longer worried as a detailer what I'm not looking at this as what I'm going to pick up from the customer. I'm worried at perception of what the customer thinks they're going to pick up from me.
Right. And so that becomes a shop level thing. So, hey, Dane, I sent you another picture. Pop that up as your background. This is
as my background. Yeah, I looked at that one. Let me save it here.
I went to my storage unit and then I went and ran an errand. And this is over a week ago. And this is still on the door between my garage and the kitchen when I come in the house. Let's see if Dane can pop it up. But, you're absolutely right, Renny. And so now it's going to be, how clean is your shop? How sanitary does it look? What do you do? We're going to see shop improvements.
That's from the wife.
I got to step out of the frame here.
Yeah. Wash your hands, burn your clothes. Immediately.
Yeah.
You can't really see all of it, unfortunately, because of the aspect ratio, but you get the idea.
So
that's awesome.
That was what greeted me when I came home the other day. But I mean, you're going to start to see people have to change the perception of their shop. We fought for years, and Bud was one of those guys, and everybody knows my both affiliation and affinity for him. The thing was, he's like, well, these guys are detailing the black hole of Calcutta. We've seen that tide turn tremendously in the last decade. It's going to be even more important to have a sanitary environment, to show people that you have a clean shop, that you maintain your facility, that your equipment's clean. It's not going to be enough that your shop looks clean and neat. If your tools look dirty, people are going to question whether you can clean their car properly. And
that runs into something. Hey, Anthony, I got a question for you. You're a gym guy. You spend a lot of time in the gym. You're a young guy. Has this changed your position or your kind of the way you view the gym of going forward?
Anthony's always been a bit of a germaphobe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I would say a little bit, but I mean, like, for example, I remember it was about a month ago when a lot of the stuff started kind of picking up and things like that. Me and my friend that go to the gym together, we were kind of just talking about it, saying, hey, I wonder if they're going to close the gym, because of all this. And they were like, no, I don't imagine it happening. But we started looking around and started noticing, you have these big sweaty dudes getting off of machines. You have all these different touch points around the gym. And then you're like, well, they're not really following up in cleaning off every single thing they've ever touched. Right. And, and a gym is just, it's just a breeding ground for bacteria. And so the more we about another couple weeks passed and we're like, okay, you know what? Like, the gym's starting to look pretty dead. Nobody's in here. We're like there's like maybe 5 guys in here total. And is something going to happen soon? We don't know. And so we ended up going pretty much all the way until the final day that they said they just deemed it pretty much unsafe. And they didn't want to have to do it because it was getting to a point, though, to where they implemented a routine to where anything that you touched, like if you literally even just touched it, you have to spray it and then wipe it down. And at that point, I don't want to say, it's almost such a pain in the ass to work out because of that reason that you almost don't want to do it, because you have to think every single thing you're touching, every single dumbbell. Even if you go to warm up with a set, you have to set that set down, go grab a towel, spray it down, set that back down, then re-grab your next set, right? And so, like, if you're working between multiple pieces of equipment or multiple different weights, it's like it's a workout in the workout to be able to do all this stuff. And now your workout goes from being an hour to 2 hours. So I think a lot of people are just realizing it and they're like, F it, I don't even want to put in the work to be able to do this. So before you know it, every gym in Idaho is closed down now. But it's funny to see how many people on my friends list are still complaining about that. And they're still saying, I don't get why, people can still be delivering food, but you can't go to the gym. And I'm like, that's 2 totally different things. But
do they really not get that?
No, there's a ton of people that don't get it, man.
Well, my delivery driver, he just sweats all over all the food.
Yeah. Here's the question for all of us. What's this do to our industry moving forward? What's the expectation that not detailers, that let's say people, detailing is a luxury. What is going to be accepted and what's going to be looked at, and how can the average detailer kind of tune into this and stand apart from the average? I think that's a great opportunity right now. Is moving forward I think your perception and how you look and your PPE and everything else. I'll tell you, if I was operating a shop, I know we're bringing in our training program. We're already the very as soon as this thing opens up, the way we train people just changed on interiors, because it's not only the safety aspect of it, it's the perception and perceived value aspect of it.
I think the other thing that goes with that, Renny, is, detailers now need to put their, I won't say their spidey sense on, but you need to be aware. So we know what's going to happen here, right? There are going to be opportunists. There are going to be opportunities, and there are going to be scams, So the question that you have to ask, because, we've seen it now, right? Right now, there's a couple products out there that say, if you fog them on and they stay on the surface, they'll kill bacteria for X amount of time. So, some things are going to come out of this that are really important. I want to highlight the detailers. You better learn your terminology. There's a difference between bacteria and a virus. Okay. You better know the difference, and you better know the lifespans, because something that kills bacteria doesn't always necessarily kill a virus. And the dwell time on a product for it to go from bacteria killing to virus killing is going to be something you need to know. Number two, you're going to have to be able to really look at evidence-based and fact-based support to any manufactured product that makes a claim. And you're going to have to know how to find out whether that thing's legit or not. Look, man, if it doesn't have an EPA registration number, and just because it does, you better look up the EPA registration number and see what that registration number actually says it will do.
Hey, Keith,
need to learn all that
further. Take that one step further. We talked to somebody in the insurance agency in their search industry this morning. Okay. Won't name who, because I don't want to get them flooded. Guess what's going to happen moving forward with automotive related services that have garage keepers insurance?
Yep.
Yeah.
They're going to go look back at you. They're going to look back at your social media. They're going to look back at your website, and they're going to see how reckless or how responsible you were during this. Yeah. And guess what's going to happen? We're going to have a massive cleansing of insurance companies saying, no, thank you. That's not even being talked about it, and it's going to come down the road. The other thing is, I just heard that the attorney general for states are looking at and charging people for falsified claims of cleansing, and they included automotive usage in there. We're going to get people charged with misdemeanors. It's coming. It's coming.
Well, worse than that, Renny, you live in the state that has the toughest, worst, hardest, whatever you want to call it, car wash bill in the nation. And that requires people to have what? It requires them to have a bond. And that bond's already filed, and that money's already there. You don't think the state of California is going to come after car washes and revoke those bonds and impanel those fines? They sure in heck are. Here's the other part that goes with this. I mean, we are looking today at risk. We talk about it with the coating industry, right? I mean, everybody wants to know, and I'm going to just put this out there. P&S, everybody knows, has a warranty for their coating, Inspiration. That warranty was one of the hardest things to obtain for us. You know why? Because everybody and their grandmother was taking their coatings and setting that crap on fire. And so the insurance companies, the warranty companies, were looking at it going, oh, we're not getting into that. We are not doing that BS crap, because they didn't want to take the risk. Well, guess what? You now have, as Renny just said, all the interior claim folks, all the sanitation claiming people, all the people who even operated. And I'll even go a step further and say, they're not just going to look at people who made false claims. They're going to look at the people who were open when they shouldn't have been.
Yep. Well, words to live by.
It's all about risk mitigation. If they said shelter in place and you're non-essential, if you're not doing X, Y, and Z, and you decide to stay open, trust me, your insurance company will probably have to do a review of claims. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I used to be a claims adjuster way back in my youth when I was stupid and reckless and wanted to harm myself. Because nobody should do that job. That's a hard job to do unless you're really set for it.
Yeah.
But one of the things I learned is they have their agents review policies and customers based on incidents and things. So when the house mold thing was coming up, I was in the fire flood and the insurance business. Let me tell you about how the reviews on policies went for commercial companies that claimed they were doing that cleaning. They went through and looked at you and said, you're not qualified, you're not, and they would take away their insurance policies or they would raise their premiums. So it's going to come. I don't know it's going to come fast, but think about it.
Something to be looking out for.
Yeah, every insurance
be aware of it.
At home doing nothing, looking at social media.
You might as well be on the right side of that equation.
Yeah. And the right side of that equation is making a measured intelligence approach that if you have the tools and the ability, okay, stay open. If you don't, make the right decision. It's not hard. But yeah, Renny, you're absolutely dead on. The insurance companies are going to look at that and they're going to go, is this guy is this person a risk that we want to keep?
Yep.
And
exactly.
Forget the claims part of it. I mean, and we haven't even talked about that either. The people who get sick, when are they going to start filing claims? If you said you sanitized their vehicle?
Yeah, it's already happening.
Yeah. So,
right.
All right, guys, I got to cut this off. We are way past the mark, and I appreciate it. But this is a ton of knowledge.
This is
just
great.
Got dropped on you.
Yeah.
So everybody listening,
the way I see it, Levi, this could be wrapped up into a part 2 next week.
Oh,
we wanted to continue.
We
this
are
on.
going to do it. We have to. We have to.
That is obviously if Renny and Keith want to do a part 2 that we can do next week.
Want to do
it's up to them.
Next week?
No, I'm stuck at home right now, and my wife is gorgeous. Seeing you hunks. Oh my gosh.
Well,
perfect.
I'm up for it, but I'm running out of clothes because every time I come in the house, I got to burn a set. So if I have clothes, I'm in for next week.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, we appreciate it, guys. Nate, take us home.
Let us know when to be on.
All right. So as we're wrapping up here, guys, just one moment. Feel free to plug your stuff or some fact or bit of advice you want to leave us with.
I would say this is take this opportunity to reset your life and don't overwork anymore. I think this is a time to where, I'm not looking I mean, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm trying to enjoy this as much as I can. And I talked to guys in the last one, the last webcast that we did. And the consensus was make sure to schedule some time out to go enjoy yourself right now. Get on a workout program, do something good. But I think that your mental health, a lot of people have ignored that. And I've been one guy that I've beat myself up mentally and physically over the years. I'm just taking this time to just kind of enjoy the moment because we may never have this again. And you know what? I've got one daughter at home she had her sweet 16 during all this. We made the best of it. My wife celebrated her birthday, all this. My brother celebrated his birthday during all this. And I celebrate my birthday this weekend during all this. And you know what?
There you go.
It's the best birthday ever because I'm around people I love. And, I like being home. I'm learning to embrace me again. I think you guys need to do the same.
There you go.
Well,
I echo Renny's sentiment on that. The hardest part about this thing for me is that my folks are in their 80s and they're across town, so it makes it hard to go see them. But I'm in town, and so if I needed to go there, I could, and so that's the blessing for me. I am home. I'm with my wife. I'm with the 2 office managers, which is code for my cats. So, yeah, I'm enjoying the time home because normally you guys know me. I am on the road at least every other week. But, I'm steeling myself for being ready for what's next, whatever that is. And I'm trying to stay positive. I'm trying to support people who are doing good stuff and being positive. And I encourage everybody to adopt that mantra. Be positive.
I got to go mop floors this afternoon.
There you go.
Enjoy.
They're dirty, so I got to go mop floors. And you know what? I put my music on. I crank out. Today I think I'm going to play some old funk music, 70s and 80s music. You make the best of it, and you enjoy what you got, man.
Enjoy the time. I will send pictures of my shop floor as soon as I get it done this weekend.
There you go.
Right.
All right, guys. So I'll wrap us up now. Well, thank you so much to everybody who watched us. I'm sure they've learned a lot just in this short period of time listening to you guys. It's been really informative, and we really appreciate you guys coming out all this way, digitally, just to hang out. So we really appreciate that. So obviously, check these guys out. You know where to find them. I'll include links in the description below so that I can see your businesses and anything else you want to throw. Just include it in an email to me, and I can include those links as well. All right, guys. Till next time, or part 2, rather. Adios.
See ya.
Yeah.